Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of SimplyPodLogical, a Simply Nailogical podcast.
Hello there.
Today's episode is not brought to you by Holo Taco, but it's all about Holo Taco. And, should probably mention Holo Taco is currently having a 12 Days of Christmas with No H promotion, which means each new day there's a special, fun little surprise. Some days it's a sale. Sometimes it's Cristine giving a sneak peek of the next collection and showing more than she should.
Oops.
So if that's something you're interested in, you might want to sign up to receive the Holo Taco emails or just follow on socials or whatever.
Follow the Holo. It's Holo Taco across all socials. Today is day 8. It's the 8th day of Christmas.
With no H.
With no H. And Holo Taco will give to you. You got to go find out what it is today.
All right. There's the end of our non-sponsored ad read. But we thought it was time to have another podcast about Holo Taco. So we've done one podcast about Holo Taco before. We'll link that down below. Mm-hmm. But a lot of that conversation was about, your thought process about why you wanted your own nail polish line and how it sort of came together and its inception. We thought now that it's been, a year and a half and we've learned a lot and it's really grown as a business, now would be a good time to have a podcast that's a bit more about, where Holo Taco is headed, what we've learned, what we think about the business as of today, and just people's suggestions for what they want to see in terms of product and ideas and things like that.
And some of the questions that we didn't answer the first time around. I saw after we answered questions, then there were more questions, of course. So we appreciate you guys submitting questions. I feel like it's been a minute since we had a SimplyPodLogical questions from you guys moment. So yeah, maybe. I missed it.
I think it's good to have a balance between sometimes it's just us just talking, but then other times it's, reacting to Reddit posts or questions and things like that. But we missed you out there, SimplyPodLogical.
AL.
Yeah.
And everyone else.
Let's just hop right into questions then. So you had tweeted out on all the different platforms, basically, do you have any questions about Holo Taco we haven't answered in the past or things you'd like to see from Holo Taco in the future? So let's see what people have to say. All right. First question from Alyssa Hall. What was an idea you had that your design team responded with, Cristine, that's impossible? They're acting like there's only one thing.
Yeah.
Do you have a good example of this?
I think one really good example was last holiday season. If you guys remember, we came out with the holidays collection of 5 holo glitters. And then just out of the blue, I, on my own decision, decided to mix them together to see what color they would make. And I posted that as a video on the Holo Taco YouTube channel. And big surprise, they made purple holo glitter.
Surprise, it's
so
purple.
In the comments section, everyone was like, you need to sell this shade, immediately. And I was like, you are right. We need to sell this immediately. So I went back to the team and was like, can we do this next week when we're planning to restock the collection or whatever it was? And, big credit to the team who tried to make me happy. And they did go back to the lab. They did, try and look at how much ingredients were left. But ultimately the answer was, I'm sorry, Cristine, we can't do this in a week.
Yeah.
And there's lots of reasons why that just made no sense. But I guess from an outsider perspective, as a customer, what would be interesting to hear is it isn't just a matter of, taking the leftovers, let's say, of the 5 shades that we have and just throwing them together, because each pigment needs to be ordered on its own and you need to have enough of each to make an equal, whatever the formula was. And we couldn't just take the pre-existing 5 polishes that already exist bottled and dump out the bottles and mix them together for the purposes of this, because that makes no sense.
It's one thing for you in a YouTube video to just mix them all together and use it and it works, but that's not how you can approach it from a business standpoint.
It's not the same thing to mass produce it, as I have learned. But full credit to the team for, trying to make me happy. And then we realized that wasn't going to work in a timeline that made sense to come out with it. Because maybe we could have done it for 6 months later.
That's right. It's a good idea, but it's one that would have had to been planned for and not hey, could you make a whole new SKU in a week?
So the moral of the story is maybe there's some things we can do as long as we plan for it.
All right. Next question from Caitlin Triplet. What actually goes into the testing process? I know we've seen you wearing them and also getting Ben to wear them for testing purposes. But what happens if you reject a formula? How does that process work? Thanks for being awesome. So I'm not sure how specific we want to be, but we could talk kind of generally about what sort of testing we do and what like any nail polish company should be doing in terms of testing products. Maybe one sort of fundamental thing that isn't really testing but is really important is just making sure whatever suppliers or vendors you're getting ingredients from, you're only getting ingredients that are appropriate to use in nail polish, and you have the documentation from those vendors and stuff that shows exactly what it is, so you know what is going into your product. That's just a super important thing, and something that gives you confidence even at the very beginning stages of developing a polish formula. You already have a pretty strong idea that it's safe and fine because you're comfortable with what's going in it. In terms of the kinds of tests you can do outside of like wear tests, there's a few fun ones that we're aware of now. There's a kind of oven you can buy.
It's UV testing, I think.
Yeah,
is the term
essentially like
used.
it simulates like what would happen to a polish over time, or if it was exposed to heat or sunlight, something like that. But it's essentially just a special little oven you put nail polish in. And it's actually really useful, and it actually has influenced the development process for us before, because there are certain kinds of pigments or colors of nail polish you could make that are more susceptible to fading than others. And there have been times where we're like developing a polish, and it's only after we've gone through that sort of phase of testing where we realize it fades too much and we needed to make an adjustment to the formula, for example. So I guess that's one.
You got to bake that shit for a
You
minute.
gotta bake it for more than a minute, yeah. And then there's also testing of just like the real hardcore testing you would do once, like you probably do this later on because it's an expensive thing, but you can literally like send a nail polish to an independent lab and they'll give you a report confirming that there isn't anything in there that shouldn't be in there.
Yeah.
Because even if you're using a suspension base you get from a vendor you trust and you know it's safe, there's always a chance for contamination or something being in there that shouldn't be in there. So it's always a smart idea to do that sort of lab testing as well. And then in terms of wear test, the question is like, what happens if you reject a formula? Like you'll often see several iterations of a formula.
Before it's the final one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And many people have worn the polish before you even see it for the first time to try to save you. You're not seeing very early versions of
So
things.
even before someone wears the polish, we have stability testing as well, which from what I understand is like a durability test basically. And then there's also viscosity testing, which is how thick is the nail polish? Can it run through, some strain of something? And there's a percentage of viscosity that they assign. So those are some tests you kind of do before even putting it on a nail. And then the nail testing obviously is incredibly important. So, but before I do that myself, there's team members or product developers who are trying it. They're trying on swatch sticks and also like their own fingernails. And then when I get it, the product developers are confident that it's, first of all, safe, obviously, and second of all, like it's past the major tests that we've just described. And then it's just kind of up to me to decide, like, does this like wear the best in terms of like, is it chipping too easy? Does it like fade or something? Or is it not the right color? I think like that's probably the biggest thing that I will change because the team has usually nailed down the formula before I get it, unless I'm like being really picky and want something so specific that's hard to explain until I can give feedback on an original prototype. But the color, I think, is the most often thing I'll tweak. I'll be like, just make it a tiny bit warmer undertone. And then they'll send me 3 samples and I'll be like, pick something in the middle of between this and this. So it goes back and forth after all the important testing to then my testing, which is the creative testing.
Yeah, and that makes and people might be surprised that like the color can change later in the process because you might think like you have picked a Pantone shade or you have like a reference card of what color you want, right?
Yeah.
But what people might not understand is that seeing like a color on like a flat piece of paper or a computer screen is different than how that color might appear on a glossy nail, right?
Like when the team told me to pick Pantone shades for the linear holo collection, I was like, I can try, but a linear holo is just rainbows. So it just, even if they like try and match the Pantone, it may not be the undertone or the particular color I want. So I kind of find Pantone shades useless when you're working with like super sparkly pigments anyways.
I would just also quickly add to this question, outside of the testing of the polish itself, there's sort of QA testing that goes on more generally about,
Quality assurance.
yeah, making sure like the bottle caps are screwed on properly and things like that. And like, so that testing and all the testing we already described is something we sort of have done from the beginning, but I would say we've gotten much better and more sophisticated in how we approach all this testing over time. So I think we've definitely seen improvements in terms of, like in any business, you're going to see a certain percentage of like orders that aren't perfectly correct, like they weren't packed exactly correct, or like sometimes something's missing a sticker. And you keep metrics on this, like sort of performance metrics, just to measure how you're doing over time. And I think we've gotten better in terms of the quality and consistency of the formula as well.
Yeah, we've always done QA, but here's the thing. Even when I get the final batch prototypes, like the batch samples, I'll okay it, but then I'm not actually at the warehouse to inspect all the bottles, right?
Sure.
So there does need to be people on the ground who are looking at these things. So we've always done this, but it was only recently in the past few months that we've hired a QA specialist whose job is only to do QA, as opposed to before it was like a shared responsibility of people working in the warehouse.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a great improvement, because quality to me is so important, and it upsets me if like one thing is wrong. And I maybe we'll get into that later, but like my emotional attachment to being in business. But
Yeah.
quality is paramount.
Got it. Next question from the one true Pascal. Why is the company based in the US and not in Canada? Did we cover this in the last one?
We didn't. I thought we did, but we hadn't.
It's a pretty
I've mentioned
simple
it on
answer,
Snapchat.
right?
What's the answer?
Well, it's most of the customers are in the US.
Yeah. So I think the first thing you do when you're trying to start a business is you try and figure out where your customers are, especially if you're an online business. So for me, it was, where's the Simply Nailogical audience? And I could look at that easily just by looking at my YouTube statistics. And over 50% of them are in the States, around 10% are in Canada, and the other are everywhere else, but in smaller percentages
Pretty
than 10%.
evenly
So they're
spread
like
out. Yeah.
distributed around. So that tells me that the States would be the smartest place to make and ship out of, just purely from a logistics perspective. Because, for example, had we done it in Canada, sure, 10% of my prospective customers would benefit from it being in the country, but 90% wouldn't, and they would pay even more for shipping to go cross-border, and we would pay more and just have more complications of that. So that's just like a pretty obvious like first line of this is just kind of you don't have a choice. But there are other reasons as well, including finding just the best manufacturer and the best quality ingredients for what I wanted to do. And I'm not saying Canada doesn't have the ability to make nail polish. There's probably at least distribution centers, if not some manufacturing centers that are in Canada. But for us specifically, the indie quality holographic flakes, etc. market is really big in the States. And fun fact, New Jersey, which is where our
The source
warehouse
of the glitter.
is based out of, as we've mentioned in another podcast on glitter mysteries,
Yeah.
that Jersey kind of has like a monopoly on glitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a weird way, it does. Yeah. The one thing I'll add to this question is just this hasn't stopped us from, when we engaged a creative firm to help us with like branding and building the website originally for Holo
point.
Taco. Like we wanted to engage a Canadian company to do that we could go talk to in person, right? But just from an operations perspective, all signs pointed to it making sense to have in the U.S.
Sometimes I get this question from like trying to make me feel bad perspective. Not this one, but I've seen people be like, "What? How dare
You're a
you
proud
not
Canadian. Why
not
is-
run your business out of Canada?" And I hear you, and I understand that criticism. And hey, if it made sense, I probably would have. But it didn't make sense for the majority of people who I knew were going to buy, and it didn't make sense for the development of the kind of nail polish that I wanted to make. So as a business owner, when you're starting something, these are important things you need to consider to not only have a successful business, but also have customers that are mostly happy.
Yeah, and it as things continue and grow, there's a potential future where Holo Taco is made or distributed out of more than just one place.
Trust me, I can't wait until maybe one day we have like a Holo Taco Canada HQ.
I'm not saying there's
I don't
any
know.
plan or idea this
We
is
don't know the
happening.
future, but like that would be really cool. Obviously, it's something I would be like, yes, let's do it, but only if it made sense for the company and the customers.
All right, next question from Court Rosaldi. What challenges have you faced with managing the expectations and criticisms from your Simply fans as you shifted a lot more of your focus into your business? What do you think, Simply? I think have people noticed that you're invested a lot of your energy now into Holo Taco, most of which people don't even see. And I think as a result, there has been just less content going up on Simply. I think that's pretty obvious. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I honestly, my first instinct is to say I feel bad, but I know, hold on, I know that Ben and you guys who care about me out there are gonna say, well, don't feel bad because you are doing a million things and you are trying to do it correctly and well, and no one is gonna fault you for the decisions that need to be made to do that. However, I'm just gonna be honest and admit, like, when I see people basically accuse me of, oh, you only come to YouTube when you want to talk about Holo Taco, or that's all you're doing now on Snapchat is Holo Taco. It hurts me because I feel like they're basically just trying to suggest that all I'm trying to do is sell you my shit and I really don't care, and that is got to be the furthest thing from my real intentions. Yes, I am very busy on Holo Taco because I care about it and I care about making some of the best, coolest products that you guys love. And do I feel bad that I haven't been able to make as much just straight up Simply content as I did last year? Yes. But I also recognize and have to just accept, trying to accept things here, that it would have been impossible. Yeah. It is just impossible to do more than I have done this year in terms of adding more Simply content. I'll also add that this is episode, 40 of this podcast?
Yeah,
Is it episode 40? Ooh, celebration. And that's an hour every week of me just talking to you guys that, for the most part, except for this episode and one prior, doesn't have anything to do with Holo Taco. It's just us connecting with you guys and, talking about some serious things or fun things. So all this to say is that I've made the decisions that I feel like I had to make Holo Taco everything I want it to be, try and still have fun at the same time, try and make as much content as I can that you guys will like the podcast, but also that I like, because I think I'm really enjoying this podcast. And when I want to make a silly, funny video on Simply and I have the time to do it without feeling like I'm killing myself here, then I do it, like hanging upside down to paint my nails.
That's right. And I kind of think Simply is kind of increasingly turning into that, like, when Cristine just feels like doing something, that's when a video will come, rather than you putting this pressure on you that there's going to be a certain number of videos or a certain amount of content. And I think that's fine and that's healthy. I mean, we hear the criticism, and I think to some degree there is some validity in the fact that, like, if all Simply Nailogical was uploading was commercials for Holo Taco, like, that's not a good thing either, right? So I don't want to completely discount any sort of criticism about it.
No, I'm not discounting it. I'm just trying to look at the reality of the situation. And the reality is, maybe if I had time, if there was, 14 days in 1 week, I might have time to make another Simply video every week.
I hear you. I don't want you to feel any pressure to... I don't even know how you do what you do now, frankly. And I live with you, and I don't understand
What do you mean? You see me every single day in quarantine, Ben.
I just see that you work like 12 hours a day. But I guess, I don't think you have anything to feel sorry for. I think what we're seeing is that you're clearly passionate about Holo Taco and everything you do on it. Some of those things people see, other things people don't. And the fact that a lot of your content and a lot of what you're showing about Holo Taco is because you're investing so much of your time and energy into Holo Taco. So that's just what's going on in your life.
Yeah, I guess you're right. If your YouTube channel is supposed to more or less be just what are you up to and what are the things you do, then I guess it is an accurate reflection of what I do.
Anyways, next question from Tay Tay. Can you guys touch on people reselling the first few collection boxes? I just recently found out people are reselling the boxes at a very high value, which is really disheartening because they received them with no monetary loss. Or I guess they just paid whatever they cost at the time they came out, right?
Yeah. So, first of all, we do not endorse any resellers that are just trying to make money off of it. And some of them, on purpose, stock companies who come out with major new collections, buy as many as they can with the intention solely of reselling them for profit when the item is sold out. We're aware of this practice. I've seen you guys tweet me like pictures of it on eBay. Unfortunately, there's not much we can really do to stop them once they're doing it unless they're using our pictures, right? Then there's some grounds for that.
There's not a whole lot we can do. We can limit the number of boxes people can buy at a launch, and we do. But like the reality is, if once someone buys something, they're allowed to resell it, right? There's a problem going on right now with the PlayStation 5. You probably don't care about this.
What?
but like a new console came out for the
Yeah.
holidays. A lot of people want it. They didn't make nearly enough of them. And like an overwhelming majority of them are just being bought up by bots who are waiting at the websites the moment they have any stock. And then they're just trying to sell them on eBay for like 4 or 5 times the price. So it's not like this is a unique problem to Holo Taco, right?
Yeah, good point.
This happens in many industries. There's not a whole lot we can do about it, but the same thing people are telling people who are looking for a PS5, like desperate people are going to pay that price, but it's in everyone's interest if no one pays those those scalpers the money, right?
Yeah.
So we can get better and have gotten better over time at forecasting how much product we actually need. So this shouldn't be as much of a problem. Anyone should have an opportunity within a few days of a launch to get
At least,
a new collection, we hope. But otherwise, I guess we just encourage you to like not buy overpriced old Holo Taco product. But, at the end of the day, that's your prerogative if that's something you're going to do.
Yeah, I would echo the exact same advice. If you want to support the brand or me and yourself by not overspending a ridiculous amount that it's not actually retail valued at, is not to buy from resellers that are marketing it way over the price just for the purposes of making profit. But I will just reiterate what Ben said, which is we do try and prevent against this by placing an order limit when we have like collection boxes or major items. And we have done that. While it is possible for a reseller technically to order under 2 names or different order numbers, like sure, but we also need to keep in mind, because I've seen people suggest like, why not just make it only 1 box allowed per person? Like, how come you can't do that?
But maybe you're buying it for you and a friend, or maybe you're grouping up an order with other people.
So
we see that too.
That's exactly what I was going to say is, while you could argue that, you also have to understand that there's tons of customers who are getting more than 1 box because they're grouping shipping, they have friends, like, and they're trying to save on, import costs or whatever. So there's all sorts of reasons why we pick it's a small number, but it's not 1.
Yeah. All right. Next
Don't buy from resellers.
Next question from Layla. Would you guys ever make more creme polishes?
Ooh.
I love the diversity of the formulas that you have, but personally, I like having creme polishes that I can layer Holo Tacos on top of. This is just one comment or question, but we saw a lot of comments just about creme polishes, and I think it's a really good example of, for a long time, Holo Taco was just an idea in your head, and you had a very specific idea or thoughts about like what would be popular, what would be successful, what
cremes.
You wanted it to be, right? Yeah. This whole idea of boring cremes. But increasingly, I guess it's an exciting time in the life of the business in the sense that now Holo Taco isn't just what it was in your head, hypothetically. We're also seeing what it means to other people and what they want from it. And it's an important time, an exciting time to sort of explore how to evolve the brand in a way that is still consistent with sort of your values and your direction and what you like and are excited about, but also realizing that people might want something that are just boring cremes or pastels or other things that you might not wear all the time, but you might also like and see a place for in the Holo Taco brand.
Yeah. And we've definitely planned for a lot of the feedback we've seen from you guys, where you guys are all kind of voting for different things and finishes, and we are doing it. we are working on things that were basically suggestions from you guys.
Yeah, so
Cremes is one of them.
has become more of a priority. People
Yeah.
will probably see that soon. You've already teased that there are a couple new cremes very far along in development now, or like basically done.
Yeah.
But if there was any mistake we made as a bit, like I know one coat back black is like
The best ever.
like
The OG.
I think that's our best selling polish actually ever. If you exclude like base coats and things people might buy repeatedly, right? And I guess we were kind of surprised. Like we knew it was a really good black polish, but I guess we didn't anticipate it would become like this staple identifier of the brand. But in terms of the other cremes, I would say it's maybe one area we didn't develop or invest quite as much into developing and really perfecting. So there's definitely been a priority in the past few months behind the scenes in terms of getting a creme formula that we're happier with, that is more consistent.
And that we can apply to any color. Because you're right. In the beginning, it was very hollow focused. And then we just had like a couple cremes. Here you go. I guess you need something to put the hollow over.
Yeah.
But now we're thinking more long term in, maybe a range of cremes. And what would all the cremes cover in terms of their color palette? Like, do we make sure we have one of each major color? Okay,
Speaking of cremes, sorry if this has been answered, but what's the story about Royalty Blue? I thought in one podcast you said normally you make another batch when you sell out. This is an exact follow-up. Royalty Blue hasn't been restocked yet because we are revising or updating the formula for Royalty Blue.
Yeah, we're completely doing it from scratch with new Intel, new formulas. That's why I'm wearing a version of Royalty Blue for the past 2 weeks, is because we're currently testing and prototyping it.
Fun. From SimplyPodLogical.
What up?
Will Ben ever get his own polish banana emoji?
Ben, tell us the tea.
There's probably a pretty good chance. Next question.
Ben, that's all you want to say? He's no fun.
From Simply's Little Sock. Will you ever remake Black Hollow Witch, and how deep is your hollow with Holo Taco? P.S. Hummus is not disgusting. Thank you,
Incorrect.
Simply's
Next
Little
question.
Sock.
No, I'm just kidding. I think to this question, I would say, in the same way with Menchie the cat and Zyler the cat did exist in a previous nail polish collaboration with me in 2016. I wanted those under the Holo Taco brand, but we made a very clear point to not dupe the original formula. And instead we went with a formula that is like a Holo Taco formula. So it's the 3 different sizes of glitter mixed in a, tinted base and colored glitter, etc. So although, Black Hollow Witch and How Deep Is Your Hollow, like, are great colors, and I'm sure I love you guys if you still have them, because that was a long time ago. I would never aim to remake the exact same thing. I'm never going to dupe it. But of course, a black hollow of some kind.
People want a black hollow.
Is in your future. Am I going to name it these names? Probably not. No. I think with Menchie and Zyler, that's a bit different, because those are literally the names of our cats.
Yeah, and at the most, you'd maybe see like sort of tributes or nods to them.
Yeah.
But like you say, the idea isn't to recreate polishes that you did in a collaboration 5 years ago.
No, and I don't want to step on the toes of that indie nail polish maker, because I'm not trying to dupe exactly something that I made with them years ago, only to be like, this is it now, the same formula. Like, it's not.
It's also just letting something be what it was. You don't always have to be recreating the past either, right?
You got to let go, Ben.
From OK Christine, what was the collection that was the hardest to shoot or film? They've all been kind of like anytime you're trying to photograph or get footage of hollow or unicorn skin or multi-chrome.
Are you just thinking of spilling nail polish when we're inhaling it all in the basement?
Yeah, invest in air purifiers if you're doing that, right? But actually, so what's your answer to this? You know better than me.
So for me, in my years of expertise in shooting nail polish, hollow is the easiest to shoot. I've got that down pat. I know it's hard.
Know what you're doing.
It's hard for the average person, because you just think like, oh, all I need is a light box, when in fact you don't want a light box for hollow. I feel like we've talked about this on the last
We've gone
one.
over that.
But the hardest thing for me, because it's not the average nail polish, it's not something I shoot all the time, is multi-chrome. To capture the shifts.
The box or the polish?
The polish.
Okay.
The box too.
Box
Because
two,
it
right?
shifts, yeah.
Okay, sure.
I took 3 pictures of the box, and each picture looked completely different. And I could not get one picture of the box that showed all the shades of the box. Kind of like
Yeah.
with nails. It is so hard. The only thing working for you with taking pictures of multi-chrome on nails is my nails are quite curved, which kind of helps show the color difference
The
because
range of the
the
color,
multi-chrome shifts at the angle of the light. But it is so hard to shoot like multi-chrome spills, which are just
Yeah.
flat on a table or a mirror, and show the shift. Like I struggled so much and I was so frustrated during that shoot because I wasn't getting it. And I even went back another day to try and get, I think it was Misshift. I was trying to get more pictures of it because I just wasn't happy with how in real life, as you guys might know, the multi-chrome polishers are so cool and you like can't believe it when you're like looking at the light. But try to take a static picture of that to really convey how shifty it
How do
is.
you get an
It's not possible.
an
It's
accurate
just,
photo of a product
it
that
doesn't look
changes
good.
colors?
I
Yeah.
don't know. I am not good at that.
If there was any collection that looks better in real life than it did in the product imagery, I think I would
Is the
agree it's the
multi-chrome?
multi-chrome collection.
Yeah. It's almost
I think you did a really good job at the end of the day, and your
you.
video footage is kind of what you need to point to give people a better idea of it. But a static picture, you're right, doesn't really communicate how awesome it is.
It's really hard and you have to like contort your hand and then you're like cramped because you're trying to twist to the light and yeah. Anyways.
All right. Next question from Tay. I'm super curious what types of marketing strategies you guys employ to get the word on Holo Taco out, social media, paid ads, PR, etc., and which routes you felt have had more impact than others, like Snapchat promos having more CPR than Insta or vice versa. This person knows what they're talking about, eh?
All right, Ben, what's our biggest marketing strategy?
Yeah, we can't just give away all these secrets. Like I'll say, people probably know this. It's only very recently have we invested anything in paid ads for Holo Taco. And even that's been done in a very sort of experimental way where I'm not sure we're quite even able to draw many conclusions from it. Like if you've watched on YouTube in the past month, you may have seen a Holo Taco ad.
Isn't it the
And it-
best when you see a Holo Taco ad?
And really that's us just dipping our toe into the water of sort of, figuring out if there's a good return on investment in that. Ask anyone who runs a business where they spend money on online ads. It's typically quite expensive to get customers from paying for ads on Google or Facebook or Instagram or whatever.
So, well, to answer the question, the biggest marketing strategy is just me using Holo
Yeah.
Taco. But like, I don't think
Yeah.
of that as a marketing strategy. I just think of it as like me using my stuff. Like, obviously, I'm going to use my stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, like, obviously we are aware of this and it's somewhat strategic, but yeah, a lot of it is just, oh, Cristine this week decided, like, the team there's increasingly an understanding that if Cristine should give people a heads up if she's just going to show a specific product one week, because we should give people a heads up that might become a more popular item there, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I think at the very beginning, you would just like decide, hey, I'm just going to start showing this one specific thing. And all of a sudden we'd see that product sell out.
And then
Especially when we didn't have
yeah.
enough stock.
And like that's not good because it's like I just told everyone, "Oh, this is great. One coat black, I love it." And then where I was talking, I'm like, "Oops, I am so sorry. We didn't plan properly for that one." And so I definitely learned early on like I can't just do whatever I want. The team needs to generally just be aware of like major things I'm going to say.
Which sounds obvious, but I guess when you've been running a YouTube channel business for years and the only other person involved is
you.
like me from a more business perspective, it gets really, you get really used to just kind of doing whatever you feel.
want. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, so like obviously the biggest marketing channel is you, and it's mostly you organically, deciding to do and show things, or a YouTube video at a launch, right, is super important, and that's very obvious from the sort of spikes in the data we see when a new collection comes out.
And I still think to this day, even though we've started doing paid ads on Facebook, Instagram, and some YouTube recently, still the most powerful driver is just me just using my product. So, and I think that's just has a lot to do with, I guess, my reach, but also just my connection to the product and the audience that already is well aware of my, like, that Holo Taco is mine. Whereas if you're just delivering an ad to a random person, maybe they're interested by the shiny objects being presented to them, but they're also like, I don't have any connection to the person behind this, or I don't care Do you know what I mean? So I think that right now, like, there's just more value in me just talking about it naturally.
Yeah, and I think the expectation, or it is likely that will change over time, and increasingly we'll start to learn that there are consumers of Holo Taco that like don't even know who you are.
I wonder.
I mean,
I'm
that's not the
so
case now,
curious.
but like there must be some people who've just come across it and bought it, even though they have no idea who they are, just because they saw a cool ad for nail polish. So, like we know these
Yeah.
people exist. We have reason to believe they exist. And I guess the idea is like, how much will that change over time?
Yeah, that's cool.
On,
I love that idea of people just seeing a Holo Taco ad, having no idea who I am and buying it because they really just love the look of the nail polish.
what's the goal, right? Like we've never gone into this wanting people to buy it just because they like you. They want to see a value proposition in the product itself.
Yeah, I
So it
want
is
people to
important to
actually
us.
like the nail polish and want to use it, you know.
In terms of PR too, it's another thing we don't think about as strategically as maybe some other people do. A lot of it is just, I
My
know it's
friends.
important to you to like send PR to, I know one thing, you decided that there should be some nail accounts on the PR list, right? Like it would have been very easy just to send to your famous friends on YouTube, but it's a mix of like people you're friendly with. And there's like, we're sending it to these people with no expectation of them doing
No.
anything with it,
No,
right?
my
There's,
PR list requires no return. You don't have to do anything. So I made a point when we first started the list that half of the list would always be nail bloggers of some form, whether they're like website or YouTube or Instagram, but just like their focus is nails
yeah.
rather than, just like famous face influencers. Yeah.
All right. Next question. From Andy James, will you ever be able to ship to country states that aren't available right now? Like, is there a way around the shipping restrictions, or is it just a no-go for those places? This is a pretty complicated question, and this sort of whole international shipping picture has been something we've really tried to address and improve this year. But kind of like no matter what we do, there's going to be some people that aren't happy with it. We did recently make changes to how we charge shipping in a way that we thought made it more fair. And for many people, there was a positive result of that. That, like, if you look at what they would have paid for an order before and after, it actually is better for them. But then there were people, and especially people who live in countries where those countries charge a lot in customs and duties, which are now passed off to the customer, where all of a sudden they're paying more for an order than they would have before as well. And clearly those people were upset. I guess we're just trying to do this in a way that is fair and just makes sense from a business perspective. I'm not sure if I should say this, but we were like losing money on shipping orders to some countries in some cases.
Yeah, because of the flat rate
There's a
option.
flat
Yeah.
rate for shipping, and we were previously covering people's customs and duties charges. Instead, now we've reduced that flat shipping rate, but customers are now responsible for whatever taxes or duties their country imposes. So, like at the end of the day, we're doing what we can. Maybe in the future, there's some ways around shipping restrictions or making shipping even cheaper by having those sort of distribution centers we hinted at, or using third-party stockists. I don't want to get people's hopes up because it's not like that's in the cards right now, but that's just sort of the reality of where the business is today. But we hear people's concerns about it, and we're doing what we can, but there's only so much we can do to make it work.
And in terms of why we can't ship or don't ship to
Yeah.
certain countries currently, it's because it's either the carrier or the country that just won't ship nail polish there. Now, the most common question I get is, well, how come you don't ship to me? I've ordered nail polish from company X with no problems. Now, I'm not going to accuse nail polish companies of doing this, but I have seen some, including ones that have shipped directly to me in the past, often smaller ones, not properly declare the product as nail polish because nail polish, some carriers just won't ship it, right? And if you just say it's not nail polish, then it can get through that.
Yeah.
So we at Holo Taco, we have to do things properly. There's no getting around, not calling it nail polish or not writing the declared value of goods, which is another issue. Like some people say, well, just don't write the declared value of goods on the package. Just write that it was $5 so I won't have to pay customs. We're not going to do that because that would be illegal and irresponsible, more importantly, of us as a business.
Yeah, it's not reasonable to expect. Anyway, there's a bunch of reasons, and yeah, one of the reasons is that shipping nail polish is something that has to be shipped a certain way. And otherwise, there are countries where, you can ship it to, and then like half of the orders disappear at the border.
Or they get returned because
Or they get
customs
returned,
just
yeah.
like doesn't want to deal with it. So unfortunately for some of those countries, it is just caused more harm than good to
Yeah.
offer shipping to that region.
So like that list isn't static. It could change over time, but
We do currently ship to, I think it's 39 countries though. So I just want to, from a positive perspective, say like that's pretty good for a company that's a year and a half, how old are we? A year and a half old. Like I think that's amazing. Of course, we want to expand and be able to offer Holo Taco to more countries. I see requests all the time. I hear you guys, and it's something that we are trying to work on. We're going to look at different couriers. There's a lot of options available, but it's also just, it comes down to volume. Does it make sense? Is it possible? And we have to consider all of these things. But I don't want people to think that we're just like, oh, I don't care about this country, so we're choosing not to ship there, because that's not it. It's usually far more complicated than that, and there's a reason that is preventing us from doing it.
no, if anything, we would be better off shipping to less places than we do now. But it is important to us
good
that
point.
the product is available to as many customers as who want it as possible.
Yeah.
Next question from Katya. How do you deal with the never-ending complaints? It feels like whatever you do, people are complaining about polishes being released too close together, too far apart, shipping price internationally, like we just talked about.
What are you talking about?
It would drive me crazy. I mean, the person's posing the question in a very nice way. I don't feel like we are getting never-ending complaints, but I think we're both very sensitive to, if we see sort of like any negative feedback, we take it seriously and consider if it is something that is legitimate constructive criticism or not.
Can I tell you a funny story?
Sure.
So in the very beginning of Holo Taco, I'm logged into all the Holo Taco socials. I still am. I still look. But I'd see a tweet that came in, and someone was unhappy with their order because I forget why, like a bottle was broken or something.
Did you start personally responding to?
But I would recognize this person as like a fan or someone that I'd seen them before in my tweets. So I would like screenshot it, send it to the team. Can you rectify this immediately? And then another time I was in the DMs of Holo Taco's Twitter, and I would open it just to see like what they were, being upset by, like they were personally offended with some of the language that I see used sometimes. And I click in it because I want to see what it is. I'm like so worried. And, they just, the FedEx misplaced their order or something. But because I've already opened it, it looks like someone at Holo Taco has seen this. And then I'm not really in the position to be like, let me just
You
ship
shouldn't
one
be
out because
responding.
I am not in the warehouse. But I felt like I had to respond because I opened it. So I'm like, we'll get right on that. I'm so sorry. Like heart. Anyways, and then I screenshotted it and sent it to the team. I'm like, please, guys, you got to fix this. And I think at some point after me intervening more than once, they were like, Cristine, okay, we're going to have to ask you to stop playing customer service because as much as you care about everyone's happiness and experience, you are not in the best position to give that service to the customers. So that was a hard lesson for me to learn. And now when I, see the occasional mention that someone's order was missing or whatever, I let the Holo Taco customer service agents deal with it. Not because I can't emotionally handle it, but because I am not that helpful, because I am not in the warehouse. I can't actually generate a new order or fix it for you.
And if we're just talking more on like the CX customer service side of things right now, like our customer service, I think gets overwhelmingly positive feedback in terms of how they deal with, like there are going to be orders that go out and they were missing an item. That's just going to happen. It shouldn't happen much, but it's going to happen. And I feel like we do a really good job of addressing those situations.
Oh yeah, our customer service is amazing. And I've seen you guys be so happy with them too. You'll tweet me and tell me like, thank you guys. You answered me so quickly. You sent me a replacement, or, you just listened to me. So shout out to our customer service team. Holo Taco is the best.
In terms of people complaining about things like, polishes being released too close together and stuff. Like we listen to that feedback and we take it seriously, and we've considered that a lot in the past few months internally. I would say it's important at the same time not to. Sometimes the negative comments kind of float to the top, and it could just be a minority of people making a lot of noise. So you kind of have to be careful not to let a handful of negative comments also completely change the orientation of what you are thinking as a business, right? And, you know, in terms of like how many releases we do, like we talk about that, we think about that all the time. And it's hard to balance, you know, knowing we want the sort of cadence of how much Holo Taco releases stuff to be reasonable and not too much. But at the same time, there's so much stuff you want to release to people that
I
it's
know.
if we just like if we space them out too much, we have like too many things we're working on that we want to come out that will just never come out too, right?
Well, it was like in the beginning when we launched Holo Taco, we had the launch collection in July and then nothing until November.
And that was mostly a capacity
And that was
issue.
because we literally couldn't make enough because we didn't know launch would go as amazing as it did. But everyone was like, where's the nail polish? Come out with something. And like so much pressure to like basically get your shit together and give me all the things. So we did that. Or we're still doing that. We're trying to get out all the things. I wanted to give you guys linear hollows, unicorn skins, you know, more hollow glitters. There are so many things on my list of things that you guys are asking for that I want to get out there. So we're balancing giving you all the goods with also doing it in, you know, a release schedule that makes sense and isn't too overwhelming. And I understand some of the criticisms, and like Ben said, it's a vocal minority, I think, because I think most customers are happy, and if they see something they want to buy, they'll buy it. And if they don't, then they'll wait or they won't buy it, and that's okay. And that's how just consumers should behave, I think, in general. But I do think that we hear you guys' feedback, and it's something we want to consider. And it has been hard because, you know, I wanted the multi-chromes for fall, but then I also wanted a special birthday polish. And then we had our holidays Frosted Metals collection. So it's kind of hard. Like if you had to pick, for example, like if you were behind the desk at Holo Taco and you had to sacrifice 2 releases this year, what do you think you like didn't need? Because I find that so hard. I'm like, well, I need this and I need this. It's hard to make those decisions once you're actually there, especially knowing so much more amazing things that are going to come out and knowing that that's what people are asking for.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely something we think about a lot.
Yeah, too much.
It's something we overthink.
Something I dream about.
Next question from Emily. Can you make small travel bags? The nail toolkit is so cute. I would totally buy a small toiletries travel bag with the same design as the nail toolkit to stash nail polish in when traveling, of course. I don't know who's traveling right now.
Yeah, no one's traveling, but I kind of made a joke when I posted the rainbow chrome nail toolkit on Snapchat that like, this looks so good, we're going to make bags now. And just hundreds of comments from you guys were like, no, but actually I would buy a wallet like that, or I would buy a purse.
It's a cool pattern, the way it's embossed on the material,
it turned out
too.
really good. But to answer your question, I mean, it's something that I've thought about. I think the nail toolkit was the first piece of like a tangible, foldable, like something you carry around. Like that's the first piece like that from Holo Taco. But there's definitely the possibility to do more pieces like that if it made sense.
Yeah, I think it would be a more niche product, and that's okay. You know, like we're willing to come out with things that we know aren't going to sell maybe as much as other things. That's fine. But how many people are actually buying a travel bag for nail polish?
Well, then let me explain
okay,
that when
tell
she
me.
says travel bag, I don't think she actually means like something that I would use exclusively to travel with on a plane. I think people use travel bags just for storage, for taking to their friend's house, and mostly just to keep their stuff organized. Like that's what I do.
No, I understand, but I still I'm not sure. We would have to do the research, the market research, or like I'm curious, like maybe people will just tell me I'm wrong in the comments.
Well, I think the biggest reason why we may not do this, I don't know this yet because we haven't investigated it, but if it turns out that creating this product was just too expensive,
Yeah.
And that's a criticism that would be very valid. Like, for example, if we had our supplier price it out and the only way we could make it work was for it to be $99.
Yeah. How many people are spending
how many
$100
people would
on
buy
it?
that? So we might make the decision then just to, okay, it's not going to work. We're never going to release it. And that might be a reason why we don't come out with something, because we weren't able to get it at a price point that felt fair for what it was.
All right, from Riley Cat, have you thought about inviting some of your close YouTube friends to create their own collection for Holo Taco?
Ooh, collab.
I mean, yeah, I'd be lying if we said we had never thought about it in a very just conceptual pie in the sky sort of way. I think there is a fun idea in here, and we have thought about it before we've seen this question. I do know that we're pretty careful to not mix business and friendship.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing for me, because the second you do that, it's a business deal and you're paying your friend for their name. And although you could argue, well, YouTubers are in each other's videos all the time and they make money off of each other. No one really, those YouTubers generally don't quantify that and say, well, your video made this much more than mine, so you got to give me this much. Like that does not happen. But in a business licensing deal where you're licensing your name to put on a product, then you would have a contract in place, right? That is very much about like making sure you get what is owed to you.
We're probably overthinking it, but we would definitely, if this is something we actually explored in a meaningful way, we'd want to be very sensitive to the fact that, even asking someone, and especially if you're friends with them, it kind of puts them in a weird position if they don't really want to do it, or if it might be awkward to even negotiate what that would look
and
like.
then they feel like they would be doing it just because it's a favor to you. Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't want to make people feel that way. So I feel like I'm more inclined just to be like, I just want to be friends.
I don't want to rule it out though, because
Yeah,
there
it's
could be a
possible.
really fun idea in here. And the top of my list, I know
What?
who I'd want to collab with.
Who?
It's Julian.
Oh,
You see how much he wears Holo Taco on his Twitch streams?
what color do you think you'd want?
That's the thing. I think he's a big fan of the black.
Dink
Although
pink.
he's dink pink. Just it's like the Twitch colors that need to be co-branded with Twitch. Anyway, I actually, on a sincere note, I just want to say thank you. Like, that guy's wearing it all the time, and he mentions it. He's a very sweet guy. Actually, people don't know this. We have a contract with Julian that he has to wear Holo Taco nail polish in all of his streams.
This is news to me.
Contractual obligation.
Did I sign off on that one?
Just kidding. Non-disclosure
There is
issues there. But no, thank you to Julian for being he's like our number one brand ambassador.
He's
Should
first
ask
on the
him,
PR list.
what's your dream polish, Julian?
Yeah, comment down below.
Next question from Alice. Will there be a black hollow?
Yes.
For a lot of questions. Like, there
Yes.
will be a black hollow in
There will
2021.
be more than one black hollow.
Are you sure about that?
Yes. Eventually.
Okay. And from Lavender, I would love some Holo Taco merch. Maybe some pastel holo polish as well. Something like lavender. Holo Taco merch. Like, our lane is nail polish. We know that. That is the focus and the priority.
So stay in it. Is that
No,
what you're saying?
I just you wouldn't want to dive into other categories to the distraction of what your main thing is. But there's absolutely opportunities to sort of branch out into other things, and it's something we've thought about, and some things are maybe being considered more than others. Yeah, there are some things we're contemplating that you might.
You might see
You
next
might see.
year in 2021. It's going to be a good year.
All right. And from Free,
Wait, we didn't answer the pastel.
Oh, yeah, okay. And
Cristine wants to give more secrets.
are you sure there might be some pastels in the works too, right?
And they might be hollow. Okay, next
All
question
right,
before.
from Free Fry. I would want to see a mystery polish called "What Do You Think?" Actually, this is the last question. Whenever I see the term mystery, it reminds me of when it became like normal for a brief amount of time for brands and companies to have mystery boxes. And now that we've sort of seen the sort of back end of sort of the challenges with forecasting and having trapped inventory and having too little of one product and too much of another, it's just even more obvious to me that these mystery boxes were just such a, so obviously a way of just getting rid of product that they didn't want to hold on to, right?
Yeah, stuff they couldn't sell or last season's color or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what do you think about it? What do you think, Christine?
I think maybe, what do you pink? That's all I'll say.
All right. Apologies to Eva Gutowski.
Why do
Again,
you
we
keep
couldn't
it-
have her. I know 2 weeks in a row. I
I
feel
think it's
really
like the
bad.
third time, Ben.
Oh,
It's
my!
like the
I mean,
third
we've
time.
been trying to get her on for a while now. We just can't make it happen. So
Maybe
really
she won't
sorry about
respond to
that.
your DMs.
Yeah, I guess not. But thank you so much for tuning in.
I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast about Holo Taco and, the business end and trying to see me care so much, but not also like go crazy over a handful of comments. Like, I really do want to make everyone happy, but I have been forced to accept that that is not possible. But my ultimate goal is, okay, well, how many people can we make happy? Let's do that. Let's make the most number of people happy as possible. Utilitarianism.
I, I think it's very obvious to anyone paying attention that you really care. And I think that's reflected in the brand and the product and why people may want to support you.
And I try not to pay attention to the people who aren't paying attention because, of course, there's going to be the odd negative comment that, like, just tells me I'm just trying to make money or something. And I'm
Sure.
like, clearly you don't listen or, like, pay attention to my stuff at all because I think you would have a different opinion.
Yeah, no, we would have done a lot of things very differently if our
I
motivation
would be a
was...
kids channel, okay? Troom. I would be Troom number 2.
We would have released a very cheap, low-quality nail polish
Slime.
4 years ago.
Slime nail polish.
Right after Polish Mountain or something.
No, we would have had slime nail polish. Fidget spinners.
All right. Thanks for tuning in.
Happy Taco Tuesday. It's the 8th day of Christmas. Don't forget to
With no
check out
H.
Holo Taco socials to see what the daily surprise is. And we'll see
y'all
y'all later.
later.
Bye.